Looking poor might be the smartest financial decision you will ever make. In a world where everyone is trying to look rich, the people who actually become wealthy often look the opposite. Quiet, simple, almost unimpressive. They are not obsessed with appearing expensive. They are obsessed with staying free. Because real wealth does not always announce itself. Sometimes it hides. Sometimes it looks basic. Sometimes it looks like someone who could afford more but chooses not to. And that is exactly why they keep more. Let me show you why. Most people in America do not go broke because of one huge mistake. They go broke slowly, quietly, repeatedly. They go broke trying to maintain an image. An image that looks successful from the outside but feels exhausting on the inside. It is the $800 car note. The apartment that sounds impressive, but leaves no room to breathe. The designer items bought on credit just to feel like you are keeping up. The food deliveries, the coffee runs, the constant eating out. Not because it is necessary, but because it has become a lifestyle. And none of it feels extreme. That is what makes it dangerous. It looks normal. It looks like everyday life. It looks like what everyone else is doing. And that is exactly why so many people never question it. We have been taught something backwards. We have been trained to believe that looking successful is the same as being successful. That if your life appears polished, expensive, and impressive, then you must be doing well. But appearance is not proof. And lifestyle is not wealth. Real wealth does not need an audience. It does not need applause. It does not need to be posted, displayed, or constantly confirmed. It grows quietly, in private, in discipline, in choices most people would call boring. And sometimes, while it is growing, it does not look impressive at all. Sometimes it looks simple. Sometimes it looks restrained. And sometimes it even looks like lack. But what people call lack is sometimes just strategy. When you stop performing wealth, you stop leaking money. Because a lot of spending is not about need. It is about being seen. When you feel like you have to look a certain way, you start paying for that image. But the moment you let that go, you remove the pressure. No pressure to impress people. No pressure to match someone else's lifestyle. No pressure to upgrade things that are already working. And something interesting happens. You start keeping more of what you earn because you are no longer spending to prove anything. You are spending with intention. Because the truth is, most people do not spend based on need. They spend based on perception, how it looks, how it feels, how it will be received. But perception is expensive, and it never ends. There is always something newer, something better, something more impressive. So you keep chasing, and your money keeps leaving. Looking rich attracts attention, but looking poor protects your capital. Anyone can look rich for a few months. It is not that hard. A new car, a few expensive outfits, a lifestyle that looks elevated. But the real question is, can you sustain discipline when no one is clapping for you? Can you delay gratification for years? Not weeks, not months. Years. Can you choose investments over aesthetics? Can you put money into things that grow instead of things that impress? Can you repeat the same simple habits, saving, reinvesting, building, even when it feels boring, even when it feels slow, and even when people around you are upgrading faster than you? Can you say no when it is uncomfortable, when it makes you look like you are behind, when it feels like you are missing out? Because that is where discipline is built, not in what you can afford, but in what you choose to walk away from. Looking poor is not about lack. It is not about having less. It is about having control. Control over your choices, control over your impulses, and most importantly, control over your future. When you are not busy maintaining an image, you finally have space. Space to think, space to focus, space to actually build something real. Because keeping up appearances is not just expensive. It is distracting. It takes your time, your energy, your attention. And those are the exact resources you need to grow. But when you step away from all of that, you can redirect your focus into learning skills that actually increase your value, into building income streams that pay you back, into reinvesting money instead of constantly spending it. And slowly, you start creating something that does not depend on how you look, but on what you can do. Most people are too busy being seen to actually become valuable. And that is why they stay stuck. There is something else people do not talk about enough. When you do not look like money, people do not treat you like money. They do not expect you to spend. They do not expect you to show up a certain way. They do not constantly place financial pressure on you. And that changes everything. Because now, you have fewer distraction, less noise. You are not trying to keep up with anyone. You're not trying to prove anything. You're just moving quietly, intentionally, at your own pace. And there is power in that, because you move differently when no one is watching, when no one is expecting, when no one is calculating your worth based on what they can see. Invisibility can be an advantage. Have you noticed something? The loudest people about money are usually the ones still chasing it. They talk about it the most. They show it the most. They try to prove it the most. But the people who actually have, A move differently. They are subtle. They are calm. They are not trying to convince anyone. They are not trying to be seen. They do not need validation. They do not need applause. Because when something is real, you do not feel the need to constantly prove it. Real wealth is quiet, it is stable, it is secure, and it does not depend on attention to exist. I am not telling you to stay broke. I am telling you to stop performing wealth too early. There is a difference. One is lack, the other is discipline. One keeps you stuck, the other sets you free. Looking poor is not your identity. It is not who you are. It is how you move while you build. It is a decision, a temporary strategy, so you can create something real before you start showing it. Let me ask you something. Are you trying to look rich or are you trying to become rich? Because those two paths, they may look similar at the beginning, but they lead to completely different lives. One is built on appearance. The other is built on foundation. One needs constant maintenance. The other compounds over time. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do is look like you have nothing while you are building everything.